Okay, hi guys. Welcome to the Dublin Academy of Education third year English Easter revision course under these very unusual circumstances. So my name is Ciaran, so I'll be with you over the next 5 lessons and just focusing on the English assessment in June or whenever it happens after that. But again, whether or not there are changes to the junior cycle, obviously all of this is unknown at the moment, but what we do is we just proceed as if that is going to be the case, and obviously you're here for a reason, or rather you're there in the comfort of your own home or wherever it is that you are watching this. So I'm just going to run through the paper. I'm going to be focusing on sort of 5 different areas really over the course of the next 5 days. So again, what I would encourage you to do is to use these videos again just like you would normally use them in class. So make sure that before we begin that you have this set of notes which we've handed or sent out to you, which hopefully you have by now, because I'll be heavily referencing the content that's in here. So this is third year English higher level. What I've done in here is I've included sample sections from all areas of the paper, from looking at past questions, that kind of thing, from different areas of the course. So what we'll do is we'll kind of work through that content gradually. I'll kind of focus on a different area over each of the 5 days. And what you do then is you just follow along, try the writing exercises yourself and so on, as you would if you were here in class. So get the notes. I would also recommend that you have an A4 pad with you, something to take your own notes, and definitely need a pen, possibly highlighters as well. So again, if you haven't got that stuff around you right now, pause the video, go get it, and make sure that you're ready to go. So first thing I suppose I really need to address is just simply the junior cycle English paper and what it is and what is being looked for and what is being assessed here. So over here on this board behind me, if we just look here, I've just flagged, again, a lot of this knowledge I'm assuming is familiar to you, but we're looking here at a 2-hour paper. It's worth 180 marks, again, as you should be fairly well aware of. The other 20 marks were for your assessment task, which you've already done. And I suppose the real thing here to emphasize is that this paper is skills-based. It's not really content-based in the way the old junior cert was. And that, I suppose, has started to kind of creep in more and more of your subjects for junior cycle. But it's an important thing to remember is that your junior cert now and the way that the English is assessed, it's not as predictable as in the old days. And again, you're probably well aware of this. Your teachers may have already flagged this with you. But what we've seen over the last number of years are just various different structures when it comes to the paper. So that's creating obviously a lot of confusion and uncertainty with regard to the exam. But if you just remember that what's being assessed here is not really your knowledge of the texts as much as how you adapt the skills that you've acquired over the last number of years in English and how you actually demonstrate that to the examiner. So that's essentially what I've sort of outlined here on the cover page of your notes. And then if you just turn over, and this is really what this is all about, on page 3 here in the notes, just included a piece about these learning outcomes. So again, that might be language that you're familiar with. It might be language that's new to you. But the learning outcomes are what's being assessed. So there's, over 60 of these learning outcomes across all these strands. You don't need to worry too much about that. I've kind of summarized essentially what they are here in the notes if you want to take a look at it. But what I've tried to do here is simplify down essentially what it is that you're being assessed on and what it is that's been looked at by the examiners. So I've that done here in a number of bullet points on page 3, but I'd just like to draw your attention maybe to 3 or 4 of these which I think are particularly relevant and things to particularly look at in terms of your paper. So the second bullet point here, if you just want to maybe put a little asterisk beside this or highlight it, understand and be able to show that every piece of writing has a clear purpose. Now I know that we kind of say that and it sounds a little bit like, oh, well, of course. But the point here is that you should understand that a poem is written in a particular way because it's a poem and it's trying to achieve something. A short story is a different piece of writing, so it has a different sort of set of guidelines, instructions, and so on. So what your job is to do is to be able to recognize those on an exam paper, be able to show this is why this is written in this particular way because you've been educated in that area, and possibly then imitating that as well and demonstrating that you can actually write with a particular purpose in a particular area. The second one I'd just like to draw your attention to there is the fourth bullet point down. Again, maybe put a little asterisk beside that. To use an appropriate vocabulary when you're responding to something that you've read. Now, maybe write in beside that there terminology. And terminology is something that I will be focusing on, particularly when we're looking at the areas around poetry, around drama, fiction, and of course film, which is the newest addition to the English course. Because the emphasis here is that you're using the correct terms, using the correct vocabulary when you're writing about something. So for example, if you're writing about a poem, you should be saying stanza, not paragraph, which I've seen numerous times on exam papers over the years. It's about understanding, when you're talking about film and writing about film, you should be using words like cut or scene or shot. So in every section of the paper, I've included a list of relevant terms, vocabulary. Again, a lot of them will be familiar to you already, but it's about demonstrating to the examiner that you're aware of them, that you know how to use them, and that you use them in the right context. The next one that I'd like you to just look at is two more bullet points down from that. Identify important, and what I've put in brackets there is key moments in novels, plays, and short stories. So remember, I said at the start, it's not really about knowing your text necessarily inside out and back to front, the way things used to be done sort of in the junior sort of the past. But now it's really about zeroing in on the important moments in the plays, important moments in the film, important moments in the novel, and so on, and thinking about what makes them important. So you've probably heard a lot about key moments. You've probably heard